in many cases, we see employees who are companies that are actually punished for, conducting security tests, such as, sending out fake phishing emails and things like that. How would you communicate with such a company's board and senior executives if they're punishing the cybersecurity team for sending out those fake phishing messages? Or do you feel that the cybersecurity team should be doing something better than that?
So if I understand the question correctly, I think this is about, we're saying that sometimes organizations and security teams, they get criticism from their board because they're saying you're sending out these fake phishing emails and it's making our people feel anxious or scared, or is that the
exactly? There was a big during COVID, there was a big brouhaha about a company out in the Midwest where, someone sent out an email that said, you're getting a bonus, click here to find out how much.
Mm-hmm.
And these, employees clicked, and all of a sudden it was all, oh, this is just a cybersecurity test, wah, 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 that's not fair. And the company was absolutely excoriated for being mean to its employees during these challenging times.
Yeah, so I have a specific thought on this, and it comes from some great research that a team did around the use of fear appeals in security. So I think the crucial thing is phishing simulation is an important part of educating employees about the risks that they face when using email. But research has shown that if you try and use fear appeals or fear, uncertainty, and doubt to actually get people to change behavior and take notice, it's highly ineffective. And actually what needs to be done is build self-efficacy for employees. And actually there's a whole podcast about this. It's the RE Human Layer Security podcast. If you go on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you can check it out there. And the researchers who did this will speak about why it's important to make people feel empowered through security training. So I think the crucial thing is not making employees feel anxious in those moments, not making them feel tricked, not punishing them when they do something wrong. I think boards have got to understand that these kinds of simulations and simulated exercises are a crucial part of the overall behavior change that people need and what a security team needs to drive. But I think there's a way to do it. I think there's a good practice, and I think there's an etiquette where you can actually make your people feel like security champions rather than actually try and goad them into changing behavior through fear appeals. But I would highly encourage everyone checks out that podcast because it covers a lot of that research and those findings.
And what's the podcast again, just so folks have a resource to go to?
Yeah, the podcast is the RE Human Layer Security podcast. And I think actually it was episode 4 of season 1.
Okay, excellent. So just to summarize your take, the answer to the board is suck it up and deal. Phishing simulation is an important piece of security awareness training, but yet at the same time, we try to move away from fear-based towards what you call the self-efficacy for employees. So talk a little bit more about self-efficacy. I can kind of see why it's important, but are there some concrete things you would highlight as ways to deliver the self-efficacy?
Yeah, so I think for too long in security, we've had an approach to, the people problem, or what we call human layer security at Tessian, where we think that technology has no role to play. This is about people. You can't use technology to solve this problem. And I reject that notion. I don't think that's true. We only have to look at our cars to see all of the assistive technology that surrounds us and keeps us safe every time we get behind the wheel. We don't just pass a driving test, get in our car and say, all right, I did the training, I passed the test, and now I'm going to be safe in everything that I do. We understand that human error is going to creep in sometimes. So we have anti-lock brakes, airbags, seatbelts. And I think in terms of building self-efficacy with employees, it's about the security team saying, our people always have a role to play in terms of they need to be aware of security threats, they need to be taking it seriously. But as a security team, our job is to try and take as many of the obstacles out the way for people as possible. And I think right now we've swung a little too far to trying to make everyone a security expert to use a computer. And actually what we need to do is say, what role can technology play? how can we take some of this burden and complexity of security away from people? And an example of that is have technology in place so that when somebody is about to do the wrong thing, like they attach the wrong file to an email and they're sending customer data to the wrong place, detect that with technology and provide in the moment security coaching to tell the employee what is wrong in this moment, the mistake they've made, and give them the opportunity to correct that mistake. And I think by doing that, what you're saying is, look, we understand that it's got to be about technology and it's got to be about the individual taking this seriously, but we're building self-efficacy by showing the employee we are doing everything in our power to use the most advanced technology to take as much of the problem away, but here's where we need you to engage, here's where we need you to be smart. And equally, it reduces that anxiety and fear away from people because they don't feel, hey, this is all on me. I have friends who had their performance review impacted by failing phishing simulations. That doesn't make anybody feel good. And I think security, we have to remember we're here to empower businesses. We want our people to be able to do their best work securely. So I think technology has a role to play in building that self-efficacy and helping people feel like they are empowered to do their work without having to second guess every single thing, and that it's all on them. If they make a mistake, then it's their fault.
Well, Tim, I love your answer. And if you're reading my body language at all, one of the reasons I started laughing is as you were describing the, instrument the environment to kind of give you guardrails to avoid to tell the user when they might be about to make a mistake. All I could think of is something you're almost certainly too young to remember, which is Clippy on Windows machines.
I do remember Clippy.
Yeah, you are about to exfiltrate data from your company. Are you sure you want to do that? Which is actually pretty funny if you think about it, because after all these years, I think you're vindicating Clippy.
Yeah, exactly. We need Clippy for security, and that's exactly what we're doing at Tessian. We don't have a cute paperclip icon. Maybe we should get one, but it's providing that real-time security coaching in the moment when people need it most, and helping them, track back on some of those decisions that may have been human error.
Well, and I'd like to turn it around, and you said something, and you may have picked up my body language once again, where you said, you don't want your friends to have their performance reviews impacted by, failing a phishing simulation. Well, I was listening to that and thinking, I don't know, I'm one of the people that was affected by the Colonial Pipeline outage, which I believe, or at least it was reported that the initial cause was, phishing. And an employee clicked on a link that took him to go see big breasts, which, if true, frankly, I would like his performance evaluation to have been negatively affected, because quite a lot of us went out and got gasoline. I went fast, and so I did manage to fill up my tank, but I had other friends who were panicking and couldn't get to work because they're, gasoline shortages. So no offense, I'm good with that guy if this has actually happened. I'm good with this guy getting kind of punished, not losing his job, but certainly a negative performance review for being a doofus. Sure.
Yeah.
But that said, let me turn this around and say, what about the opposite? Does Tessian agree with, implement the possibility for people to get gold stars for doing great, progressing quickly and really demonstrating a real awareness of security? Is that an approach that makes sense to you? Is that something you're building out?
So I think first off, in that particular example, I think it depends on the context of the phishing email. I didn't know that was the context.
It was reported. It was reported. Yeah. I'm not sure it's true. So, but that was
so.
Said.
I think everything on a case by case basis, but that does sound pretty bad. What I would say, just to answer your question directly, we absolutely do support gold stars for people who. It's not about you have to be secure from day one, but it's actually how is your security behavior changing and improving over time. But again, I really want to stress this. We need to empower our people by using great technology to help them be better at their job and better at understanding security risk. So we absolutely support that. And we see that, we see that future in organizations where actually your own kind of security strengths and weaknesses, it may be part of your development areas as an individual, right? You might be saying, okay, here's what I need to work on in my job. Here's what I need to work on in my security practice. Everyone has a role to play. But I think what I just want to come back to about, this concept of phishing simulation and punishing people for not finding the right link. It is really important that we just acknowledge we did not train people to filter spam emails decades ago. We invented technology that took the problem of spam away. And that's exactly, again, what we're doing at Tessian. Take the problem of phishing away. You can filter phishing emails from reaching employees. If they do reach employees and you want to train them, you can do that. And crucially, and a lot of people don't realize this, phishing today is so sophisticated that many of the most dangerous phishing attacks are being sent from the legitimate email account of the third party, but it is controlled by an attacker. That is impossible to train somebody to detect. It is impossible because the email, the normal things you'd look for.
I would actually push back on that slightly. Let's say I get an email from Bank of America that says, click here to update your information. Training tells me, hell no, ain't clicking nothing. Pick up the phone, call Bank of America and say, did you just send me an email? That's where training has to step in.
That's true. And I think for those kind of generic, the generic examples of services impersonation, but I'm talking about, if you work with a lawyer,
right,
and they're your law firm and they have been compromised and they're sending a phishing email into your organization, you could do all the training in the world, but for the person who talks to that lawyer, every week,
they're going to click on a link because they trust Bob the lawyer, right?
And it might not even be a link, right? It might be, hey, could you send me the latest documents on X? And so I think we again just need to, we should ask more of technology. And again, I think that's how we build self-efficacy with employees. And then coming back to that point about gold stars, again, there's another great podcast episode that hasn't been released yet that will be, that is all about building security champions. And that I spoke with Lena, who's the CISO of MongoDB. She has built a phenomenal security champions program at MongoDB. I highly encourage people to have a listen to that when it comes out. And again, that is all about the concept of gold stars for security and actually how it can help organizations from everything from talent sourcing in cyber to actually building that self-efficacy and improving security behavior.